All right, welcome everyone. It is Monday, October 17th, 2022. I am your host, Adam Martin. I'm joined by my co-host here, Big Marcel. It is the MMAOB Daily Podcast. Hope everyone's doing well. Marcel, man, how's everything going with you? Feel like I haven't talked to you in so long. It's been a week, but how's everything with you?
Everything's going well, man. Looking forward to talking some MMA with you. Got a
Yeah.
big card coming up for this week. We talk about
Mm-hmm.
that in the next podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
first a recap for this one. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's always fun to talk some MMA.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and for sure. Like you were saying, we're gonna do this podcast. We'll just recap UFC Vegas 62, Grasso, Araujo. Next podcast coming up right after this, breaking down UFC 280, and that's the card of the year, right? Like it's got to be the best card on pay per
Pretty
view.
much, yeah.
It's stacked, 14 fights, 2 title fights. We got our buddy Joe here in the chat. How's it going, my friend? Glad to have you here. All right, let's get into the recap here, Marcel, for UFC Vegas 62. I mean, we did really well on our picks, man.
Yeah.
We killed it, 10-1 each. I mean, it was a great week for picks and for bets, right? Like I was killing it. The only one we got wrong was Victor Henry losing to a Sunset. And I said, I'm like, this line is really long. Like, minus 450 on a guy who won a UFC fight, right? Like,
Mhm.
and a Sunset looked good in that fight. We'll talk about that fight in a few minutes as well. But it was just good, Marcel, to have a nice night because obviously we've had a few tough nights here and there. It's nice to have a great night. So nice job, man, and we did
Thank you.
well. Glenn's in the chat as always. Glenn, you're one of our favorites here. Glad to have you here, and Joe too. You as well. Two of our diehard fans here, Marcel. All right, let's get into the recap. We'll start with the main event, Marcel, as we always do. Work our way down. Main event, pretty much as the fight went as expected. Honestly, Grasso wins a decision over Araujo. This is exactly how I thought the fight would go. Um, Scorecards pretty wide 50 45, 49 46, 49 46. Honestly, watching the fight, Marcel, I thought it was pretty close. I thought
What did you
Grasso
have?
won. Pardon?
What did you
Pardon?
have? How you scored it?
I had it 49 46. That's what I
Okay.
had as well. I gave the third round to Araujo. But I still think like the first and second round were close, that like a judge could have made the argument that, you know what I mean? Like it was, I thought it was a pretty a close fight. I do think the right fighter won. I'm glad that Grasso won because I thought she won, and we both predicted that would happen. So it's good. I'm just saying, like, I was a little surprised how wide the cards were when they were read. But either way, like, I thought she looked pretty good. I thought both fighters looked pretty good for a 5 round fight, their first 5 round fight. But Grasso gets the win. I don't think she's ready for Valentina just yet. And she said she wants one more fight. She will
She
take
knows it.
Pardon?
She knows it. She
Oh,
knows
she
she's
knows.
not ready.
Yeah, yeah. I think so, right? Like, she looked decent in this fight. I don't think it was her best performance, Marcel, but
No.
she did look decent. She beat a really good fighter. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think one more for her. Honestly, I do think Santos probably should get that rematch. The
I
more I
agree.
think about it, because the division's just not. It's really lacking people. Contenders, I should say. Grasso also mentioned Furo and Chikage, and that's this weekend. The winner of that could fight her, or maybe they'll fight for the belt, especially if Furo wins. But
You,
I don't know.
you,
We'll see. Anyways, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
You can do Grasso against Murphy. There's also
That fight
possibilities.
makes
So,
sense too.
um, I mean, I added 5-0 for Grasso, but like I said, people can't read on Twitter, man. I said like I wouldn't judge you if you have a 3-2 for Araujo, because some rounds were close.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, Grasso clearly won. It's like I say I have it 5-0 for Grasso. So what are you talking about?
Let me just say. Let me jump in there quickly because I was going to say I'm
Yeah,
looking at the
go ahead.
stats right now. All five of the rounds, or excuse me, 4 of the 5 rounds,
Yeah,
the strikes, the significant strikes, were within 5. Like
yeah, that's
it's
what I
very
mean.
competitive, right? But I do think again the judges did a good job because they were scoring for the fighter who landed probably the more impactful strikes, right? So I think they
Yeah,
did a good job. Go
I
ahead.
mean, yeah, that's not every single strike has the same impact, right? So,
Yep.
um, I think Russell won. I think she did perfect with her jab, keeping the distance, doing work, winning these exchanges. Um, but yeah, I mean, Araujo. The thing is, many people were thinking like maybe Araujo going to try to take this to the ground. But we also know that Araujo isn't bad on the ground, but she also has prefers to stand up, and she tried to get Grasso to the ground sometimes. I think she managed to get her to the ground twice in 7 tries, and Grasso got up. So yeah, I think Grasso did well. She did what she had to do, and Araujo isn't an easy opponent. It's a very hard fight, I think, for a lot of girls in the division, and to be really honest, I still think Araujo beat Chukagian
Me
when they
too.
fought each other. So
Yeah.
that said, I think Grasso is close to be at the top of the division. Only if she fights against a girl like Jessica Andrade, for example, a flyweight, that can be a bad night for her. You know what I mean? Because of the power Andrade has. But girls like Murphy, even Chukagian, it's not. Those are not knockout with girls with real knockout power, so she can manage to fight those girls. I think, well, for example, Shevchenko, I think she's still ahead of Grasso. I think maybe a level ahead, 2 levels ahead. So I think Grasso thinks the same way. So yeah, I really think it's a smart call out to not call out Shevchenko actually, but call out somebody else. So yeah, I feel that.
Our good friend Marcus here with a good question. Marcus says, "What adjustments do you think Araujo should have made to increase the chance to win the fight?" Well, first off, I think her corner made, like I was talking about this on Twitter yesterday, Marcel. Like after the second round, which again the first 2 rounds I think were pretty close, but
Mhm.
her corner should never have said like, "Oh, you're definitely up both rounds." Like, why would she say that to her? Like, it's just stupid. Like there were 2 close rounds.
Yeah.
And again, that second round, yeah, she did have like the side control, Marcel, which was scoring her points. But as soon as Grasso got up, all those strikes she landed at the feet won her back that round, in my opinion.
The
So,
the
and I
thing,
think a good judge would recognize this, which they did in this fight. So, good job to the
yeah.
judges. Go ahead, though.
The thing is, man, with some of these coroners, and I understand they are biased. They're
Yeah,
super biased with it. That's always what I have with. I have certain fighters I talk to, and then they lose a close decision, for example, and I think they lose. They did lose. Then they come to me in DM, and it's like, dude, did I win this fight or not? You know, and then I'm always telling them, what do you want? Do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want to tell me the truth? And 9 out of 10 times they're saying, tell me the truth. I was like, I think you lost the fight. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. You know what I mean? And I think corner should be more. I know that's probably difficult because you always see the more positive things about your own fighter than you see about the opponent. But I think it's not a good idea for a corner to say you won a round when you're not, when it's a close round,
yeah,
and
you're
there
not
is
100% sure.
there's a possibility, even a 5% possibility that the other side could have got the round. Don't be so
Yeah,
sure. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I agree. I mean, I completely agree with you. I think it's a mistake. Like, I think you're doing disservice. What adjustments could she have made? Probably just been like more aggressive, maybe initiated more grappling. Like, because at some point she was clearly losing like on the feet, and I think she should have made that adjustment to like do something to change up the fight. Like, there is some, I guess, like there's something about going the full 5 round distance for your first main event. Like, I guess there's something she probably likes about that. But I again, these fighters' careers are short, man. I think you got to take chances in your fights. Like, she's turning 36 next month,
That's also
man.
a thing. Yeah, she's a lot older than I thought. Actually,
Yeah,
I
she
thought she
should.
was
You
younger.
got to take some chances, Marcel. Like Leon Edwards with that head kick. You got to have your Leon moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Araujo's still a good fighter, and she's definitely a top 10 fighter. There's no doubt about it. But I think when she watches the tape back, she'll probably be like, "Damn it, I could have did this differently." I really think so. So, great question, Marcus. Gorilla, what's up, man? How's it going? Glad to have you here. We're gonna do the 280 preview after this podcast, which is the UFC Vegas 62 recap. Another fight, Marcel here in the co-main event. Jonathan Martinez destroys Cub Swanson's legs, just like his teammate Chris Gutierrez at Factory X. Just destroys Cub Swanson in this fight, just like Gutierrez did to Vince Morales, and gets the second round TKO win, wins the bonus, biggest win of his career for sure. 4 straight wins for this guy. He's on a roll, Marcel. We've both liked him for a long time. He's doing great. It's a huge win for him on paper. Give me your thoughts on this performance, man, because he looked phenomenal.
As a young fighter, because I think Martinez is still young, 28, I think. As a young fighter, this is the fight you want to have, against a respected veteran in the
Mm-hmm.
division who was still doing very well, got down a weight class. Um, I don't know if you saw the interview what my colleague did with Cub Swanson, where he was mentioning like I went down a weight class because when I got older, I lost 8 to 10 pounds when I was walking around. He's like, I'm just a busy guy, so for me it was easy to go to 135. But he was already dieting from June,
Mm-hmm.
so um, yeah, I don't know, man. I felt like Swanson did pretty well in the first round, although Martinez did as well. But at a certain moment, you saw Swanson a little bit fading, I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the weight cut, at 135. And you saw Martinez getting better, getting the overhand in the fight, you know what I mean? And those two first low leg kicks were already brutal, and the third one was the finishing. And I think Herb Dean was the ref. Could have stepped in there, man. After that third one, Cup went down, but he let Martinez punch a little bit more, and even in the first round when Martinez almost finished him, with 2 seconds to go, Hurt was just waiting for the buzzer to get the round over. He didn't want to intervene. Well, he could have done that, but he didn't. But okay, Martinez, great win, huge win in my opinion. I think probably Thomas Almeida was his best win on his record, if it comes to name value, probably. And now it's obviously Cub Swanson. I think it's a huge win, and he looked really good. I'm really looking forward what's next for him, man. I think he's a big talent, and he's a guy who keeps improving. So I'm hopeful for him.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like that fight with Davey Grant was last year. It feels like it was a long time ago, but he's been so active. He's had 4 fights instead of 4 wins, so he's doing really well. You're right, Marcel. He's getting better every fight. This is his best fight. Definitely a top 15 opponent. I would assume for him next. Definitely deserves it. Hey, John, what's up? Bantamweight's the best division right now. I've said it for like a while now, probably.
Fucking huge, man. I mean,
so good.
Even the guys between top 15 and top 25 are so good.
They could all be ranked. Like all these guys are studs. All right, next fight here. Dusko Todorovic finishes Jordan Wright in the second round. Fight of the night, Marcel. This was a back and forth war. Just two guys. So it kind of reminded me of Don Fry and Takayama from Pride.
Yeah.
A little bit, just staying and trading bombs. And I mean, I'm surprised Jordan Wright lasted as long as he did in the second round, guys. That was crazy. Like you thought he would have gone down a lot sooner. First round, all Jordan Wright, 10-8 round, probably for him. And then second round, 10-8 for Dusko before the finish comes. It was a great fight for as long as it lasted to watch as a fan. Once again, Jordan Wright starts off strong and then gasses out. It seems like every fight, that's how it works. Or either gets you out of there in the first round or he loses. And then Dusko, again, he's definitely hittable early on, but he comes on strong in his fights. And he's had a few of these type of fights where he gets you in the ground and beats you up, finishes like that. So it was a fun fight. Give me your thoughts, Marcel.
Yeah, I literally called the second round Rock'em Sock'em Robot on the Eurosport website. Did you saw my tweet where I say Todorovic with the comeback, and I used the gif of Stefan. I showed it to Stefan as well. He's like, funny. Yeah, yes, you're so funny. He's like,
he kind of looks like him a little bit, eh?
Like, yeah. We always make that joke over here. So yeah. I mean, good first round for Wright, right? He went full in. I think. Todorovic went for that ankle lock or for whatever he went there, and he got punched and almost got punched out. He barely could defend himself, but he was able to. Went to the second round, full pressure on Wright from the start from the second round. Wright was done after the first round, man. He was gassed. He was super gassed. He pretty much like expected, and the most funny thing was at a certain moment, I think Wright went down and he was really sitting on his behind, and Dusko was punching him like this, and he was looking like up, like where does these punches come from? A real weird moment, and but yeah, good finish for Dusko, man. Good comeback. What can we say? We both expected Dusko to win here. Was it a great fight, a great showing from him? I don't know for sure. I think the first round wasn't that great, but he came good. He did well in the second round. They both got fight of the night. So maybe Jordan Wright is lucky and he gets another fight because he got the fight of the night over here. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, this was not normally. Sometimes you have these fight of the nights with like back and forth for 5 or for 3 rounds, high level technique. This wasn't high level technique. This was crazy rage. But yeah, overall fun fight.
This guy's comments here. Right, it's horrible gas tank. It's pretty bad. For that first fight, it's pretty exciting. You think he gets one more fight then? Because he is an exciting guy, I guess. Because he won fight of the night, they'll probably give him one more, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on what's on his contract. I don't know how many fights he has left. If he has 3 left, for example, I don't know.
Maybe you can fight Bo Nickel.
Yeah, they probably
actually kind of makes sense to be honest with you. Yeah. Alex in the chat. What's up, Alex? I complain about Martinez. He has 0 personality. He's nervous, which is understandable. Yeah, he doesn't speak much at the interviews. I noticed that as well. He's just very shy. So you're right. I mean, that does kind of limit where you go, though. It does, Marcel. Like it limits.
He's right, but I mean,
you can still win the belt, though. You can still win the championship as a quiet guy. Go ahead.
If he keeps improving and he keeps fighting like he did on Saturday, I mean, he's undeniable, right? So yeah.
But for sure, like UFC likes to go push
guys
that are good on the mic. We know that. There's no doubt about that. Next fight here, Yeah, the upset. This is the only fight we got wrong. Rafael
Hmm.
Sunsel defeats Victor Henry. I thought Sunsel looked great in this fight. I thought he
Oh
looked
yeah,
phenomenal for a guy who lost 4 straight fights, and everyone was saying like sucks and is going to get knocked out again. Like he looked good in this fight, man. Victor Henry, like very disappointing. Marcel, to be fair, like after that fight with Barcelos, which is an amazing performance early this year, like there was a lot expected of him. I mean, he didn't look very good in this fight, but I do think it was more Arsenal just looking so good and big win for him. 40 years old, he needed this win. He lost. Had he lost, he would have been cut for sure. So he was still on the roster. I heard his interview. He said he wants one more fight probably, and maybe in Rio. So I think he's going to retire soon. But you know, Marcel, he's actually second all time in wins at 135, guys. Isn't that crazy? So
yeah.
right now, Dillashaw is first with 13, and second is Sterling and Sunset with 12. So that says something about the longevity. He's got good wins. He beat TJ back in the day. Rob Font, he has a win over. He beat Sterling. He beat Marlon Moraes. Like he beat Pedro Munoz. Marcel, this guy is one of the better bandweights of all time,
Of
quite
course, yeah.
frankly, and he's so underrated. And I really wish I picked him in hindsight because remember I was talking about. I'm like, man, his line is really off. Like there was something about this one, but I couldn't pull the trigger on a 40+ fighter, right? But man, he looked good. I got to give him a lot of credit for this performance. What do you think? Give your thoughts, man.
Yeah, man, it was always not a good but a sexy performance, man. That's how good it was, you know.
He
I
looked
really
great.
think his second and third round was so good, you know. We finally saw the old Asuncao back like we used to, you know, the guy who is just a very complete fighter in my opinion, you know. And the first round was still kind of 50-50 to me. I still gave it to Asuncao, but Henry was more in that fight, but the second and third round were completely for Asuncao. He looked so good. Um, he said he was thinking about retiring. You know, you could say after an listen, if you're thinking about retiring, you could after this performance. You know, there's a great way to go out. On the other hand, you got that Brazil card, right? And Brazil in January, and I think he wants to be on that card. Yeah, why not? Give him a fight on that card. Um, but he looked good. He looked really good, and I'm happy for him. It was his first win since 2018. Was on a four fight losing skid against, let's say, good fighters, man, against good competition. So yeah, I'm happy for him.
For sure. Me
By
too.
the way, do I have a problem with my screen?
No, you're good. You're
No.
good.
Okay, perfect.
He did look good, John. I thought one of his better performances, quite frankly, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Opening up the card, Alonzo Manifield, scary knockout from Misha Cirkunov. I honestly like. I never saw this fight going any other way. Like Misha, I love the guy Marcel, but his chin is very just deteriorated at this point. He's been knocked out 5 times on the UFC, and he's lost 4 straight fights. I would assume this is. I saw Aaron Bronstetter tweeted this is the last fight of his deal, so I assumed anyways it was win or lose, go home. So he's. I would assume he retires, to be honest with you, because I just don't see like. Well, I guess he could go to PFL. That's one option. Okay, that's the one option for Misha. You know, because I don't see him going to Bellator. I really don't even think they'd be interested, honestly. And PFL maybe to my heavier term would be the one thing he could do, Marcel. But I think the UFC is going to release him, unfortunately. And for Manifield, big win for him. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights. But man, what a brutal knockout this was! Like this was scary. That's why I don't want to see Misha fight again. But I just feel like there's that chance he still might, but it won't be in the UFC. Anyways, what do you think?
yeah, man, that was done quick. You know, I mean, Misha tried to go for a takedown, didn't get it. Keep standing, and I mean, Manifield was like throwing haymakers from everywhere, and he touched him. And you know what? If he touches him with one of these, he's probably going down. And 2 punches too much on the ground because the ref was sleeping at that moment. But yeah, good win for Manifield. You know, he did what he had to do. I think. Um, really, I think really. And I don't find the right word, but a moment after the fight, you know, where you saw only Pat Barry in his corner and not Save Saud from Fortis MMA. You know, only Pat Barry in his corner. I mean, do you know what happened there, or did he just go train with Pat Barry this
Yeah,
time?
James interviewed him. I think he's training with Pat Barry now. Like that's his
But
main
is
guy
he
now.
gone from Fortis or just for this camp?
For this camp, I think he was only there
Hmm.
at least. I don't know going forward though, but that's for this camp he was working with Pat Barry.
Uh,
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, he looked good. There's no doubt about it. A couple other comments here. Mayfield's corner choice of corner was a great. The less that Pat Barry received, the better. He did freak out a lot in that corner. It was funny. What's up, Wani? UFC fighters banned from betting on fights. James Cross accused Man Martinez not getting assaults Man Martinez not getting a finish. Did he bet on him by finish? That's what I thought would happen? Let's talk about that fight. I mean, Kraus definitely bet on Man, and he was yelling at him. He's like, "Get
Yeah.
going, man. Let's go." You can tell he bet on him for sure. I bet on him too. I told you I thought he'd win this fight. Now this is another one, Marcel. This actually fight was pretty fucking close. Had he not landed that spinning back fist in like the last 10 seconds of the second round, he would have lost the fight, I think, because Davis was winning the volume battle there for a little while, anyways. But that late knockdown in the second round sealed the deal for him. Split decision. Mike Bell, our guy, he did score it for Mana, who I thought won the fight. I think they got this one right. It was a pretty fun fight. I think the right guy won. Brandon Davis is 2-7 in the UFC. I think he's going to get released too. 4 straight losses. It's unfortunate. He's a pretty tough dude, but I think it's probably gone from the UFC. Anyways, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Brandon Davis, that guy who is really tough, but can make it competitive with everybody. Probably everybody they put in front of him, but he gets those wins difficult, and he loses a lot of split decisions. Yeah, I think Mana won 2 rounds. I think I got him the first and the second. I think went with the third with Davis. Yeah, I mean, yeah, James Cross probably at Mana by finish. I don't know, but yeah, a good win for him. Although I think I expected this to be a little bit more. How do you say that? Less closer than it was. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see what's next for him. I mean, Mana Martinez, good for him. I think he's 2-1 in the UFC right now. His only loss was to Ronnie Lawrence, and that was a fight in the third round. He almost turned around. Yeah, let's see what happens to Mana, right?
Yeah, he's a fun guy for sure.
Yeah.
A couple other comments here. Bros and Manyfield sparring sessions must be insane. I don't know if they spar together. I was shocked Brandon Davis looked that good. He looked pretty good, but 2-7 record, guys, in the UFC. Like, I don't know if he'll get another fight. Maybe, but I don't know. What's up, Andrew? How's it going? I think Martinez just isn't that good, rather than Davis being better than expected. It feels like most fighters that want to progress what they made them unique and fun. Yeah, I mean, like on the regional team, he was knocking everyone out, right? I didn't see that in this fight. It wasn't that aggressive. I think he's pretty good. Definitely not like an elite prospect by any means at bantamweight, but like he's gonna have some fun fights. He can win fights against guys like Davis that are borderline UFC. Next fight here, Jacob Malkoun. We both predicted this underdog, Marcel. Now, to be fair, Nick Maximov got injured early in the fight after he rocked Malkoun. When he rocked it, I was like, oh no, Malkoun's going down again, just like the Phil Hawes fight, right? Where he got knocked out quick. Yeah. But survived that, and then the opponent obviously got injured here. But honestly, like it might have gone the same way or similar with the takedowns, because that's what Jacob Malkoun does. In this fight, Marcel, he had 9 takedowns. Like the guy's a takedown machine. 9 in this fight, 7 in his last fight, 6 the fight before that, 8 the fight before that. Like if you play DraftKings, you want Jacob Malkoun in your team, man, because he just takes you down and controls you, and that's huge in the fantasy. So again, a boring fight, but he got the job done, right?
Yeah, when Whitaker was searching for training partners, he's like to his coach, find me a training partner, but he has to be boring as fuck. So now, I had a discussion with Gilbert Ivel on this earlier this morning. I said Maximov, after the first round, got injured. Second round got completely dominated on the standing and on the ground. Why not save your fighter and don't let him come out in the third round? Because there was no way was gonna win this fight anymore. And you only probably got more damage from what he had in his leg that he probably barely could stand on. So I had a pretty huge discussion with Gilbert about it. He was like, no, you want to fight as a fighter. You want to go out on your shield. This is pretty much you can't give up like that, and it's not giving up. It's like your corner should look out for you, I don't say that Nick should say he should stop, but his corner should look out for him. He's like, yeah, but maybe they are they don't want to do that, I was like, yeah, I understand your point of view, but if there is like basically 1%, like even not 1%, probably you're gonna win this fight. Why should you go out for 5 more minutes and damage your leg even more? And then he said, like, yeah, you saw like Leon Edwards knock Usman out in the last minute. I was like, yeah, but he wasn't injured and it was for a title. So but I think that's more I'm not a fighter, you know. I'm watching the fight, you know, and I'm looking from a different perspective than a fighter. I think if you ask a fighter always wants to fight. You know, he's not like I want to stop. And the most fighters have fighters in their corner, so they think the same. You know,
Yeah.
if you're in that corner, you maybe think the same as me. Maybe you don't, you know, but maybe you think the same as me. But although you have a fight, I know you did a fight years ago, but still, you know what I mean. I don't know. I want to hear your opinion actually about it, about this particular one.
I think you're bang on, man. Like if you're a fighter, you don't want to quit, right? You don't want to be the guy who says I can't fight. It's very rare. Like
Mhm.
it's very rare to see a fighter say I'm not going to off the stool. The corner's there to protect you, right? Because the referee they're there to protect you too, but sometimes they don't always. The doctor too, like. But in this case, like I don't know, man. Like everyone could clearly see the dude was injured. Like I think almost the doctor maybe should have stopped the fight in this way,
Yeah,
you know? Because it was so. He was like, "Oh, keep an eye on it." He's like, "It's pretty bad." Like you could tell he was injured. At the same time, though, because of the win-loss structure in MMA with the bonus with your win bonus, right? That's the problem. Like as a fighter, especially, you think you can land that one punch and knock your opponent out, right?
I
Especially
fully
after you rocked him early in the fight. Go ahead.
I fully agree with that statement, that the win loss thing, but there
Yeah,
was no way he was going to win this fight, you know, and there's nothing against Maximov, but we saw the third round completely one sided, you know,
yeah,
and the thing is like, um, he, of course, like Juani says in the final comment, Max Roskov got cut from the UFC by giving up pretty much on the stool, you know. And I don't say Maximov has to give up. I say the corner has to look out for the fighter. You know what I mean? And the corner should say like, you
yep,
can go out. You know what I mean? But
yep.
and then I hear I think so, maybe it was even you who said it on Twitter, and then somebody said like, yeah, he's from the Diaz camp. They're not going to do that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nick Diaz did it for Nate when he
Nate
got
Diaz, right? He threw the
kicked
towel and after got
Josh Thompson.
knocked out by Josh Thompson. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's not true there. But I know what you're saying though for sure. All right. So the next fight here, Joanna Sabritu submits Lucas Alexander first round. Really, I mean, we didn't actually get a chance to talk about this fight last week because it was short notice.
Mhm.
But I did this fight go any other way than we expected? No, obviously not. I think we both expected it this way. By the way, I missed a comment when didn't like that they let the fighter go to the third round. I agree. And I want to bring up Max Roskov, and he did quit in the stool. I think it was a little different because he wasn't really hurt in that fight. Like, he just didn't really want to fight anymore, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Anyways, like Dana White said the same thing. So now that the UFC is out of the US business, I expect Max Roskov not getting renewed. Yeah, probably not. You know, and unfortunately, right, because he's going to end it on the injury. His record in the UFC is 2-2, and quite frankly, other than getting submitted, his 4 fights were not the most exciting fights. You know what? He probably does get. I think that's probably it for him, right? Would you say?
Yeah, it's very possible. Although maybe they see something in him, but the wins he had was against Puna Soriano, which was a kind of a 50-50 one, and he got that Brundage win where he won the first 2 rounds and lost the third round,
Yep.
and losing to Petrosky by a first round submission, and now this one. So yeah,
Yeah, his wins are not bad. Like they're 2 good wins on paper,
yeah.
but again, you look at the fights closely, like they weren't that impressive. So, all right,
Listen, man, I hope he
but
gets at least one more fight, but it's probably on his end
we're
of
just
his
being
contract.
realistic
So
with it for sure.
yeah.
Pierre Rodriguez defeats Sam Hughes by decision. Yeah, I thought she won the fight. Scorecards were a little interesting on this one, but she got the job done. No issue there. Tatsuya Taira
Listen,
submits. Oh,
Adam.
one sec. I'll just go through. Then you can talk about them.
Yeah.
Tatsuya Taira submits Cedric Vergara. He gets a performance bonus. I mean, we both called that.
Mhm.
The guy's phenomenal. One of the better prospects. And then open up the card. Pierre Rodriguez, nasty knockout over Mike Jackson. Brutal knee. Gets the job done. You know, a lot of people say he should get a bonus. It was a nasty knockout, but like, come on. I mean, it's Mike Jackson. You know, I don't think you get a bonus for beating him. So, give me your thoughts on the first 3 fights. You can start with Pierre and Sam. Go ahead.
I mean, Pfeiffer got a bonus for beating Amadowski. So, I mean, on the other hand,
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, I agree with you, but then they
Yeah.
should be like on one level. You know what I mean? UFC did, that is. Yeah, Pierre Rodriguez against Sam Hughes. The thing is with Sam Hughes and Pierre Rodriguez, um, I had this fight for Pierre at 29-28, but I can see Sam Hughes making an argument that she won 2 rounds. You know what I mean? It was a close fight. So I can see that. I think some people had a 29-28 Hughes. I think Pierre did enough to win 2 rounds. Um, that wasn't. I think it was an okay fight. It wasn't anything spectacular. I think most spectacular probably Tatsuro Taira, how he fought. Beautiful transition going from the body triangle with trying to go for rear naked choke to the armbar. Um, Vergara was overweight again on the weigh-ins. Really needed that win. So I don't know if we see him back, but Tyra, beautiful way to win. And the first fight, yeah, pretty much what everybody probably expected, right? No disrespect to Mike Jackson. I don't hate the guy at all. I know many people do. But yeah, Pete Rodriguez got the second chance in the UFC. First fight, really difficult matchup against Jack Della Maddalena on short notice. Now gets a booking with a full training camp, and he knocked out Mike Jackson in the first round. Well done by him. And we got to talk about Askarov as well against Royval.
Yeah, that fight fell off. Was it the morning of? I believe. Was it the morning of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the weigh-in.
Weigh-in day.
Morning of the weigh-in. Yeah. So, I mean, has Askarov said anything? Obviously, Royval said that it was Askarov missing the weight, and that he turned on the catch weight. So, have you heard anything from Askarov's side at all? Okay, what happened? Tell me.
So, I don't know what happened, but I saw a legit picture, where Askarov was laying on a couch with his eyes closed and his legs stretched out, and he was out. So the medicals were watching over him. They were trying to get him up on a stretcher or whatever. That's what I saw. So I think Royval says his team turned it down. I think they had to turn it down. I think he had to go to the hospital or whatever, and that he went out to the weight and maybe kidney failure or whatever, and then you can't accept a fight, even at a catch weight. They won't let you fight. So obviously, I think Askarov probably has to go to either bantamweight, or he has to go to the PI in Vegas and figure something out. The second time, first time was against Joby Benavides, I think, when he missed weight by 1 pound. Cannot happen too often, because this guy is not just a random guy in the division. This guy is a top 5 guy, in my opinion, top 3 guy in the division, and you cannot miss weight in the weight class while you want to fight for a title at a certain moment. Imagine he beat Kai Kara France last time, and he would have fought for the interim title against Brandon Moreno in this weight. You know what I mean? They can't risk that. That's probably also why almost everybody I talked to said like Askarov against Royval should have been the main event of this event. That was probably the highest ranked card or highest ranked fight on the card, in my opinion. But I think the UFC. I'm a huge Askarov fan, you know that. I think the UFC made the right decision to put Grasso Araujo as the main event, because with Askarov missing weight last time or 2 fights ago, and him maybe missing weight again because he has difficulties to get to 125, they should have scrapped the main event, and then they would still have Araujo Grasso, but just for 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Because it would have been difficult to make the 5 rounds within 1 day. It's possible, but not very likely. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a shame, because I think he really can be the best at 125, but got to make weight, man.
You do, man. That's it for him at 125, I think. I think so. It's unfortunate. I know you're a big fan of him. He's a good fighter, but
I agree with you. Yeah,
gotta make weight. Yeah, it's true about Askarov for sure. Tyra versus Martinez, prospect. Yeah, Martinez. We'll talk about him in the next podcast too. That's not very nice. Yeah, he's got a hearing problem. Askarov's too small to do anything at bantamweight. Just needs to figure it out. Probably. I mean, I think they'll keep him. They'll try to keep him there, but I don't know, man. He's missed 2 of his 3. Oh yeah, also CJ Vergara missed weight too. That's another guy, right? So both of them. Technically, CJ. He's also missed 2 of his last 3 fights.
Yeah.
Imagine Askarov thinking maybe already stacked bantamweight. Yeah.
The difference is CJ isn't close to any top 5 fight. You know what I mean?
For sure, he's unranked guy.
Yeah.
For sure. He's got 1 more fight in his deal, I'd assume, because he's 2-1, or sorry, 1-2 in the UFC. So yeah. I think they'll give him his last one at flyweight. But if he misses that, obviously he's going
to be really honest, that 1 on his record could have been 0-3, right?
Should have lost that fight against Clayton Rodriguez. All right, I think that's it for this the recap. Anything else you want to say about this card?
No, that's it, man.
All right, cool. Me too. All right, guys. So we'll get prepared here for the next podcast, UFC 280 preview. Let's plug your stuff really quick, Marcel. We'll get out here, and I'll start the next podcast up, guys. So bear with us. We'll start in about 2 minutes here. Go ahead, Marcel.
I'm going to try to do really quick. Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. Eurosport.nl Mixed Martial Arts section.
MMA Martin on Twitter. MMAOBSpeaker.com on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all those places, guys. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Appreciate everyone in the chat. We're going to start the UFC 280 podcast just about a minute here, guys. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in a minute. Bye.